This is a Pikmin. Isn't he cute? He's just a little plant thing that runs around and makes little noises. Oh, look at him go. He's just enjoying this lovely... Oh. Pikmin, a game series by Nintendo, first made in 2001 with its latest installment in 2023. In each game, you play as a space captain from another planet that crash lands in a post-apocalyptic Earth. Your character is only 1 inch tall, and your task is to find missing parts to fix your spaceship. Simple, right? Well, unfortunately, you're weak. Like, stupidly weak. And you can't do anything except run around like an idiot. So you enlist the help of little plant creatures called Pikmin. The games go out of their way to explain how these things are at the bottom of the food chain. Alone, they have 0 chances of survival, so they've developed strange ways to survive and often function in groups. This is where you come in. You command an army of tiny plant dudes to violently murder innocent animals with blunt force trauma. Today, we'll be researching the psychology behind the Pikmin series, why it's cute, why it's fun, why it's educational, and why it's unhinged psychological horror described as a kid's game. We'll cover 2 main categories, and first we'll look at the fun and thinking parts of the game, and then we'll move on to the dread and horror. To start, we're going to find out why these games are cute and charming, and to do that, we need to understand why our brains would label something as cute. Research has shown that we have affection for organisms with juvenile features, such as big eyes, soft touch, or simply being small. This is because those features activate fast brain activity in regions like the orbital frontal cortex, which is connected to emotion and pleasure. Now these basic rules apply to everyone. If something is cute, everyone will know. Using neuroimaging technology, it has been shown that in adults, the orbital frontal cortex becomes active within 140 milliseconds or 1/7 of a second after seeing something cute. After the immediate sensations, another response happens more slowly. This response is made up of longer, more sustained processing that occurs in larger brain networks. This type of activity is linked to complex behaviors involving caregiving and bonding. So, taking all that information, we can apply this to the world of Pikmin. The Pikmin are cute because of their baby-like features. They have big eyes and heads and stubby limbs and make little noises that we identify as cute. We also develop a sense of caregiving for these creatures because they depend solely upon us to survive. All of this allows our brains to get emotionally attached to walking plants in a video game. And with that attachment, we want to try our best to make sure nothing bad happens to the Pikmin. So we try hard to play the game correctly, and we learn new strategies to survive and lower the chance of failure. This is where we can discuss how the game is educational and how we learn from it to improve our skills to avoid conflict. The Pikmin games are labeled as strategy games, and this is because their main gameplay format has the player making strategic decisions to overcome odds. In the games, your main way of offense and defense are the Pikmin you collect and grow attached to. However, they are not invincible. Far from it. If you make a mistake, the Pikmin die, and it's a very challenging process to get them back. This helps our brains learn that danger is around every corner, and we need to make good choices, otherwise we get hurt, both emotionally and physically in the game. Our brains are able to learn new strategies and abilities through behavioral game theory. Behavioral game theory seeks to observe how strategic decision-making behavior is shaped by social preferences, unity, and other factors. Decision-making happens in the prefrontal cortex of our brains, which isn't fully developed until we reach the age of 25 or older. In the case of Pikmin, decisions are made in two big categories. The first category is selfishness. We choose to avoid danger and play the games correctly so we don't get upset in real life and lose progress made in the game. After all, games are meant to be played for entertainment. The second category is selfless. We choose to make smart moves and take safe options so we don't lose our army of Pikmin. The decision to keep the Pikmin safe are also done in slight selfishness because they are our only way of survival, but also because we have developed an attachment to the creatures and we feel responsible for what happens to them. Through all of this, we are able to learn and memorize specific counters for certain enemies to maximize our gameplay skills, and some of these skills can loosely be applied to the real world. Of course, we don't have an army of plants fighting for survival, but we do have minimal tasks that can be accomplished in strategic fashion to maximize our energy. So to summarize, these games catch and hold our attention because our first impression of them is cute and funny little plant guys running around. As we play them though, we develop attachments and see the game for its challenging yet entertaining ways. So we willingly invest our time into it as a way of entertainment or relaxation. Okay, now we've looked at what makes the games cute and educational. Now for the fun stuff, the psychological torture side of the games. In basic summary, there are many uncanny and threatening enemies in these games. Most have a cartoony appearance, but there are a few which defy all meanings of science and logic. For example, there's a robot spider made out of lava that shoots you with a minigun. Or a two-legged demon dog that lives 500 feet underground. The worst part of these encounters is that everything is unfamiliar and unexpected. Simply put, they're scary. And like recognizing cuteness, fear is an emotion deeply rooted in psychology. Fear is a protective, primal emotion organisms have had since the beginning of time. Fear is what we use to keep ourselves alive. Without being able to sense danger, we would not be able to survive. Fear produces emotional and biochemical reactions when a threat is perceived, whether that threat is real or imaginary. This response is better recognized as the fight or flight response, in which our body prepares itself to confront danger or run away. This all happens in the part of the brain called the amygdala. The amygdala's main purpose is to release hormones after receiving a message that will activate the body's fight or flight response. For example, if a spider jumps up on your dinner table while you're trying to eat, your brain would sense the danger and immediately and unconsciously decide to run away or fight. This also happens in the Pikmin games. When a horrifying water demon falls from the ceiling and starts crushing your friends, you don't know what to do, so your brain will either decide to run away or fight. This is why we often panic for a few moments before making a choice. It's because we can't cognitively label what we're seeing as fightable or unfightable. Because these dangers are new and unusual, we have no idea what would be the best method for survival, to fight or to run away. And all of this is enhanced through creepy imaging and storytelling. For example, when an enemy is defeated, it will lay there on the ground until you decide what to do with it. You have to stare at its lifeless corpse until it is carried off to be repurposed. Or sometimes, there will be downright unsettling moments, especially in the game's enemy deaths, like when defeating Groovy Longlegs and how it writhes in pain and makes twisted and distorted sounds from its speaker before blasting a foghorn and falling completely silent. Or when the water wraith is defeated and it runs away in pain and wriggles about until exploding into another dimension. All that creates fear. We are scared for the safety of ourselves and our companions. We know that there is a high probability of getting hurt, and we don't know how to stop it. Besides from having creepy enemy designs in unfamiliar situations and the element of surprise, the Pikmin games also use dread as a method of creating fear. Dread is a sense of impending doom, like a feeling of being constantly on edge, waiting for something bad that may never happen. Dread is often triggered by a sense of uncertainty or doubt, but is also a slower, smaller part of anxiety. Learned helplessness is a psychological term which means organisms that have been helpless in the past won't try to change their situation even when given the opportunity. For example, a dog that has been locked in a closed area and shocked many times will eventually give up on escaping and take the punishment even if a door is opened. In the case of Pikmin, learned helplessness is very evident. There are some enemies, like the water wraith, where the game tells you you can't do anything to defend yourself, so you learn that you are helpless and you don't even try to fight the enemy. Then the dread sets in. You know there is nothing you can do, and even if you manage to escape, in the back of your head you're dreading the next time you run into that monster. The Pikmin games are known for their creepy and scary enemies that feel out of place in a cute game about little plant dudes, and now we know why. It's because of the unfamiliarity and dread of the situations that create that fear. Now, nothing is truly scary unless it has a lasting effect, and Pikmin also covers this, through death. Death. It's irreversible in real life and in the Pikmin games as well. If something dies, it's gone. End of story. That's scary enough on its own, but what about when you're the one responsible? What if you were the sole reason that hundreds of innocent lives were lost? Can you handle that responsibility? Well, you better, because these games don't hold back. Responsibility, meaning a willingness to accept ownership and acknowledge the consequences of our behaviors. It can be good. If you're responsible for helping someone and receive praise, you feel good. Simple. But if you're responsible for something bad, something that has a devastating lasting effect, you feel horrible. Responsibility can either be good or bad, it all depends on the situation. So let's explain the situation in the Pikmin games. Here, I'll set the scene. You crash land onto a giant and unfamiliar planet. Everything around you is massive and only wants to devour you alive. Along with that, your environment is dangerous, a winding maze with obstacles that are impossible to overcome. You only find safety and friendship in the Pikmin, who follow your every command. They make you their leader. Then, you go out of your way to make more Pikmin and find new ones to increase their population and chances of survival. All is going well, you realize how to defeat a few enemies with ease, you advance further and grow comfortable with the situation. Then you come across something new. Not sure what it is, and having developed a sense of exploration through your experience, you go to check it out. Suddenly, a giant frog that looks like it's made from daisy flowers bursts out of the ground and smacks you away. Panicking, you command the Pikmin to attack it in one big group. But what you don't realize is that the frog thing has opened its gaping maw, and a sticky tongue shoots out and captures your entire army within 1 second. You realize what's about to happen and try to call the Pikmin back, but nothing happens, so you can only sit there and watch as you see your team get swallowed alive. You hear their little screams and you see their souls evaporate, and then you're forced to run away without a moment to rest so you don't suffer the same fate. All that time, all those struggles, all those laughs gone with the blink of an eye, and it's all your fault. The games don't give you any option except to take full responsibility, and even if you do manage to get another army going, you still have that lingering sense of dread that you could make a single mistake and lose it all again. That's why it's scary. That's why the Pikmin games are psychological torture disguised as a kid's game. It's all because they do such a good job of making you attached and invested in the characters, and then taking it all away before you even knew it was coming. So in conclusion, the Pikmin games first get us attached with their cute designs and bright colors. Then we learn a few things and have fun from playing the games, getting even more attached. Then we start taking responsibility as we feel confident in our abilities, and we go to explore new things. We think it'll be innocent fun with our army and skills. Then the game throws it all away, leaving us with nothing except a crushing weight of responsibility. Then we bounce back, build up again, and learn from our mistakes. Learn enough that we now live with a sense of dread that we'll lose everything once more. Eventually, we think we've seen the worst of it, but then the game goes and makes something even worse than everything previously encountered. And this vicious cycle repeats until we complete the game and finally get closure. And that's the psychology behind Pikmin. A masterfully crafted game series that holds so much more than initially thought. Emotion, connection, comedy, joy, beauty, challenge, fun, and of course, unhinged psychological torture.